Hey everyone, welcome to Lunch Therapy. Very exciting show today. A lot could go wrong, a lot could go right. Let's jump in. We're going to be visiting with a live guest, and you can comment and we can all ask our questions. Let's get into Lunch Therapy. All right, it's Lunch Therapy. For those of you who are joining for the first time, this is a show. It's usually about a half an hour, maybe a little bit longer. We let go of all the troubles in the world, all the news cycle, any other troubles that you happen to have. Just leave that outside the circle. Take a step into the circle. We're going to do a little bit of breathing to start the show. Hoy, boy, toy. We have the greeting "Hoy," which is a higher echelon of high. It's a much more intense "Hoy." So it's a much more intense high, is what I'm trying to say. Nice blue, yeah. I've got my Lunch Therapy shirt on. You can get these at my website, joelmarshall.com. But we're not here to sell t-shirts. We're here to breathe. So in through the nose, out through the toes. First breath. Hold it. Let it out. So we have Rex Sikes waiting in the green room with Boney hanging out in there, waiting to come on. He is a person he lived on the Rajneesh compound in Oregon in the 80s, and we're going to ask him about that. In through the nose, out through the toes. Hold it. Let it go. Yeah, so we've got one more breath, and I'm gonna explain some of this stuff. If people don't know who the Bhagwan was or who the Rajneesh were. Last week we had a great interview with my friend Agyat. I invite you to check that out if you haven't seen it. Must be crazy hanging out with Boney in the green room. It is crazy. I hope he survives. I hope Boney doesn't, take him out or something. Boney can be dangerous. He's got nothing to lose. He has no skin, no organs, nothing. All right, so let's get on with this. I'm going to do one more breath. In through the nose, hold it. And let it go. For those of you who maybe haven't seen the show before, I invite you, if you're on Facebook or if you're on YouTube or if you're on Twitch or Periscope or wherever you are, chat. And I can put them on the screen. Rex will be able to see them. So if you have any questions for Rex, Camila Lopez here is saying no lunch. Yes, it's Lunch Therapy, and oftentimes there is no lunch. And my assistant, Boney, sometimes complains about that. But what can you do? Perhaps that's why he's Boney. First thing that we do, though, is we do some relaxing things, and we're going to jump into that right now. This is actually a train in the snow. So it's super hot right now. And so I thought maybe it might be a good idea to look at a little snow while we look at some of the comments. Yeah, this is a train that actually plows the tracks so that there are no mishaps. And I don't know, on a day like this when it's like 1,000 degrees outside, it seems like a good thing. Okay, I'm going to show one more thing before we get to Rex here. I don't know. There's something actually enjoyable about that. What do you all think about trains going through the snow? Is it relaxing? Is it something that is therapeutic? If you do find that it's therapeutic, please, go to this YouTube channel. I don't know how to pronounce that. But anyway, you can see this wonderful video and experience it for yourself. Yeah, the green room is possibly the underworld, the dark web. This is a cow plow, according to Jose, and Jose knows a lot of stuff. Nice and cool. Yeah, I'm going to be sweating, I'm sure, because it's 1,000 degrees in my studio today. Yeah, Cade thinks it's comforting. I do too. I enjoy it. All right, so now we're going to look at something else that I think is extremely comforting. It is a woman petting a giant tortoise. And this goes along with my thesis of the show, which is all animals have personalities, and they're a lot like us, and they're a lot like our dogs, and a lot like people, and we should love them and take care of them. Look at him. He's just like a dog. And there's a dog over in the corner going, "What about me? Hey, what are you doing petting that big, gigantic turtle?" It is presently 1,000 degrees here in Los Angeles. Yes. It's presently, oh my gosh, it's so hot. So hot. And Ginny Sikes is here. Ginny Sikes. Did he just walk up to her in the park? Yes, I think this is probably a turtle petting park where you can just hang out. I know, she seems, I don't know whether she's a pro or not. All right, one more roller coaster. Taito Park. The cool thing about this one is the guy's camera stays straight while the train just moves around like crazily. And I think it's kind of better that way. It's like a chicken. When you pick up a chicken and the chicken's head is like, stays in one place. Ginny knows about that. Oh. That snow reminded Todd Lee of that train movie with John Voight. I believe he's talking about Runaway Train. I think this is cool. So see how we stay sort of, our head stays level. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say it's level while the train just goes nuts. It's 75 degrees in Michigan. So Michigan is the place to be today. It's always hot where I am. It's so true. It's always hot. Chicken heads are on gimbals. These are the intelligent things that we learn here on the show. Okay, gimbals. I don't know what gimbals are. To me, I thought it was a department store. All right, so now I'm moving on, and okay, I'm gonna explain something to y'all. First of all, I want to show a picture of one of our viewers, and I see animals do watch our show. I think it's because we watch animals. This is Georgie. He's checking out our show from yesterday. There, I think I'm talking about Evel Knievel. If you're a big Evel Knievel fan, check out yesterday's show. And then there's also this animal in his lunch therapy shirt. That's one of our viewers as well. Sent that in. Thank you very much, guys, for sending that in. Todd Lee and Guineal. Georgie is Georges. Georgie is Georges. And there he is again. It's great. I love that. We have a community here. Is that an umbrella hat on Neil? I don't know. Was he really wearing an umbrella hat? Neil is... I don't think so. I think there's an umbrella behind him. Okay, so let's get to this. So now we're going to look at something. I'm going to explain it. This is going to be a demo here, a new thing that I've never done before. So it should go terribly wrong. Yep, already going wrong. Chicken heads are on gimbals, though, and that's all that matters. All right, so I'm going to bring this on here. Here we have, this is going to be a little bit of a fun explanation here, and I just have to do one more thing. Okay, so I want to explain why we're talking to Rex Sikes here, besides the fact that he wrote this incredible book that we will get to. But he was a member of, let's call it a cult, called the Rajneesh in the 1980s in Oregon. A lot of you know about it, but I do want to go over some details here as I see them. Correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, so there are going to be chats. I see one from Jenny here. She's chatting. You can see my bro Rex for a flash in Wild Country. So yeah, so this is where I found out about it, Wild Country. And that's where I found out about this whole thing. Well, I found out about Osho, as they call him, from my friend Agyat. And then I came home and watched Wild Country. This is what I got from it. So here it is. This is the Bhagwan, Sri Rajneesh. Those are his names, or Osho, as they call him now. He was a spiritual guide. He was an enlightened person, perhaps. He wrote a lot of books. He had something called an ashram. And that ashram was in a place called Pune. Pune. Here it says ashram in Pune. I don't know. I guess they spell it in different ways. That ashram was here in India. Okay. So we got that much. So it's going very well there in Pune in 1979. So they think, hey, you know, there's a lot of Americans coming here, a lot of people from all over the world. Maybe we need to start another one in the United States. So they come over to the United States and they look around and they find a big piece of land near a place called Antelope, Oregon. They build this giant ashram. It's called the Rajneesh Puram, Wasco County, Oregon. They have a lot of followers. They all wear red robes. Things are going along pretty well. He has an assistant. Her name is Sheila. She's very good at administration. She's very good at taking care of things, you know, while he's focusing on the teaching. He does. He looks like Agyak's dad. And so, you know, so she's a good administrator, very loyal. He does odd things like buys Rolls Royces. I want to talk to Rex about that. Like, why is he buying Rolls Royces? Everyone is converging on this place, and they're all wearing red, and the townspeople are getting kind of worried. They're like, what's going on here? These people are taking over our town, and there's a lot of shenanigans going on. Some people say there's a lot of sex going on, and possibly there is. There's definitely a lot of chanting, a lot of meditation, a lot of jumping up and down and laughing and just having a good old time, and the local townspeople they're not so happy about it. And some Hollywood people come in, of course, with their drugs and do some weird stuff as well. And they're big devotees of the Bhagwan, they call it, the Bhagwan. And they also start to bring in money for the Bhagwan. And then things start to go kind of bad. There is a bombing in Portland where some Rajneesh or somebody attempts to bomb them because they're not happy about them. They try to run for office. And then mysteriously, there is a salmonella outbreak in a nearby place called the Dalles. And apparently, Sheila and her, you know, people underneath her, they went around and put salmonella in the salad bars. And so like 700 people got sick. So that, of course, initiated a whole thing. And eventually the Bhagwan was deported. And he left and he changed his name to Osho. Osho, which, I don't know, we'll ask Rex about that. At the same time, back in Pune, things are thriving. He comes back to Pune. He also goes on some tours in different places. And now, today, the Osho International Meditation Resort, Pune, is thriving. He's long gone. He passed away shortly thereafter. But his teachings, his meditation practices, his books, he wrote a lot of books, and he had a lot of different meditation practices, very practical. And last week we had Agyat on, who was not even born when the Rajneesh were doing their thing in Oregon. And he's a wonderful person, and he had a lot of super interesting things to say. And that leads us to Rex Sikes. Rex Sikes is now, if Boney has not taken him out for lunch, he is now waiting in the wings. I'm going to bring him in here. Sorry for the long wait. And he also has written this book recently called Life on Your Own Terms, and I want to ask him about that. So let's jump in. Let's just jump in. Ladies and gentlemen, Rex Sikes. There he is. So good to see you.
Good to see you.
How was that intro? Was that somewhat true? Were there some truths in that?
Joe, first let me say it's an honor to be on your show. I love Lunch Therapy, and I love
good.
It. You had Agyat on, and I love it when you and my sister are on together too.
Yes.
But I truly do, and I appreciate this opportunity. Boney was acting up and had a really nasty agenda, but I saw
knew
right
it.
through him.
I knew it. He always tries it. I think what he's trying to do is start a union. I think that's a lunch therapy union, which I'm all for unions, but I just don't think there are enough people, and he doesn't receive any salary. So I don't know. We're gonna have to negotiate. I think.
I survived Boney, and let me just say that we could do a whole number of shows on what you talked about in there. Some of it's accurate. Some of it I would say is disputable.
Yeah.
Much of it's disputable, from at least from my perspective. So.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so
I spent a day with Mark's class.
Yeah.
And
you did.
We didn't talk about the ranch. I didn't make the connection when we were together, and had I'd have said, hey, let's chat. But I did see the series, and the series was one of the better or more well-balanced approaches to everything that went on and or what it was about, but it left out a lot of really important stuff. I mean, it missed a lot of things, but that's television, that's documentary. So
okay, so now I've gotten the notice. I have the worst time with audio in the show, but they couldn't hear you very well. But that's cool. Now I have it so that they can hear you. This is my nemesis, the audio. So let me start with what brought you to Oregon. I do want to say in the beginning of your book, there's a very kind of inspirational, interesting story where you say that you were having a really, really hard time in life, and you decided this can't go on, and you sat down in a chair for 6 weeks, I believe. You had done a lot of reading. You knew a lot of things about how, you can use positive affirmations and positive thinking to transform your life. So you just were like, I got to do something extreme. You sat down in a chair for 6 weeks, and all you did was say positive affirmations and maybe get up to eat and maybe sleep. And that was the beginning of the change in your life. Can you explain what happened there and then what happened afterwards?
I was about 25 years old, an actor in Los Angeles, and I went skydiving. Unbeknownst to a girlfriend didn't want me to go, and I went and I got injured, and I tried to keep the injury from her, and so I went to a Beverly Hills doctor who prescribed a fatal combination of pills. It should have killed me. Later they said, you're a walking miracle, but it should have killed me. And
Wow.
It didn't, but what it did was, it messed me up. It horribly messed me up. And she left me at the time. I blew my career. I lost all my friends. It was a truly devastating time. And my parents were traveling. My sister, Jenny, I owe a lot to her, said, you better get out here. There's something wrong with Rex. They came out, found me the way I was, took the distributor cap off my car so I couldn't flee, and pretty much locked me in my room while they were trying to decide what they were doing. I had kept a journal through all of this, and with the medicine and stuff. And people, I'm freaking out. I have no idea what's going on because I don't know that it's a result of this combination of pills. So people are going, here, have a Quaalude, here, have some cocaine, here, have some, this, here, have some weed, here, here's some alcohol. So I started, making cocktails the whole time. And had no clue what was happening to me. And I kept journals that later I found this stack of journals that was just scribbles. It was like the Nicholson thing of all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. It was just this scribbles through volumes. Apparently I thought I was writing something epic, but couldn't read any of it.
Oh, no.
And so, it literally took about a year and a half. I drank, I drove my car nearly off a cliff. I jumped out the window of my apartment trying to kill myself. I mean, all sorts of stuff. I passed out in people's homes or whatever. And a friend of mine one night, I was at Carlos and Charlie's, which was a hot spot on Sunset and Sweetser or Harper. And I had been upstairs in the private club, and apparently I pushed around this guy who the next night said, I'm going to kill you. You are, a jerk. And he calls the maitre d' to kick me out. And I'm like, I don't know who you are. I'm sorry. I'm probably drunk. I don't know what's going on.
Wow.
And I ran downstairs after the whole thing. The maitre d' smooths it out. And I go, John, to my friend, a waiter down there, who's Nicky? And he goes, oh my God, why? I said, well, because he wants to kill me he said, you're going to die. That is one of the biggest mafia guys in this town. And he's going to kill you, you're going to die. And it was that moment with John saying, I looked back to all the different events in my life and what happened that night. And I went, I got to do something. I really don't want to die. As much as I wanted to die.
Yeah.
I didn't want to die.
You didn't really want to die. Yeah.
So I did. I locked myself in my apartment for 6 weeks. I had, as a child, I'd read, a lot of the mystical books. I wanted to be a priest when I was like 6 or 7 years old. I got into hypnosis when I was 11. I knew a lot of stuff, but I didn't necessarily apply any of it. I knew it. I practiced. I dabbled. But now I was desperate. I needed something. So I sat in this chair and I said, I'm just going to sit here. I'm going to do hypnosis. I'm going to chant affirmations. I'm going to do whatever I could. And I spent 6 weeks in the chair. And that's what led me later, now, many years later, to write the book, Life on Your Terms, because it was about claiming my life back. Mm-hmm. And after 6 weeks, like a baby learning to walk, I went outside. Thank you. That's the book. I ventured outside after having transformed myself to accomplish what I set out to do, and that was to win my friends back and gain my life back and to live a better life. And so, like a baby learning to walk, I wasn't like Superman when I got out of the chair and went out there, but in time, continuing the practice that I'd learned while I was in my easy chair, I did become more Superman. So now I live a wonderful life. I've got 2 marvelous children who you met 7 years ago at your wonderful home. And this week, this right now, a 7-year anniversary.
7 years ago.
7 years ago. So, so now you can say I live the life of my dreams. But it started in a very devastating way, which is true for a lot of people. Transformation happens in one of 2 ways. You either sculpt it and chisel it like Arnold Schwarzenegger, conditions his body. You do something daily, every day, repeatedly, correctly, consistently until you get the result. Or, as many people find out, some life-shattering event comes around and it destroys all the programs that you have and you go, I can't live this way anymore. And so some people who,
yeah, that seems to be true. Some people, like we talk about Eckhart Tolle and how he basically reached such a low point of depression that he kind of cracked and became enlightened.
Well, and that is what happened to me.
Hopefully, you don't have to do that, but that you can go through a normal practice, like you say, a regular practice. It does appear.
It depends on what you want to. It depends on what you want to adhere to. I'm not here to promote any religion. I wasn't when I was with the Bhagwan. It wasn't, and we'll get into it. But you could believe that you are source. You are the same as all of the creative power in the universe, and you're just playing hide and seek with yourself. The Hindus believe that. It's called Leela. It's the play, and Maya is the illusion that we think this reality is our reality, when in fact, we are far more powerful than we think. And so a lot of people do end up going through difficult times. It's kind of their way of going, hey, wake up, it's getting your attention. And other people, don't survive it. And those that do either become a wonderful person or they become a broken person. So the choice is always there.
So you've made some advances and you come to decide to go to this. I mean, did you think, hey, I'm going to go to this cult now? Or, hey, I really like, how did you decide to go to Oregon and go to this place?
During this process, this time, I had discovered Bhagwan's books. Now, Bhagwan never wrote a book. They transcribed his discourses, and they transcribed 500 of them or more. But I found his books. I fell deeply in love with his ideology and with the way he had to express things. I think the first book I read was Only the Sky. There was the Book of Secrets. I mean, I think I read most of them.
Yeah.
And I wanted to go to Pune. And a friend of mine said, hey, guess what? He's going to be coming here soon, so we don't have to go.
So this is kind of right at the beginning of the cult.
Yeah.
Of the Rajneesh.
So when they came here, it was like, I want to go. By that time, I had started hanging out at the retreat center, which was Utsava in Laguna. And there was, I forget the name of it now, in Westwood.
Yeah.
And at the time, I mean, in the 70s and 80s, there were 500 Rajneesh centers around the world. There were restaurants all around the world. There were discotheques everywhere.
Discos. Okay, so you get there.
Don't call it a compound. It was actually a commune, and it was a city. It was a legitimate North American city.
Wow.
Had a mayor, had a police force that was trained by the state of Oregon, had the third largest public transportation system in the state of Oregon. In fact, it was the first city, I believe, in the world to recycle. It was about building a town, a city inside this. It was a waste.
What happened the first day you got there? So you had expectations of what this place was going to be like. And
well,
did you just walk into town, or did you have to register, or what happened?
Well, no. I mean, I applied to go and was accepted. And then what happened was, Antelope, the little town that you showed, was about 19 miles from the actual commune Rajneeshpuram, but it took over an hour to get there because of the roads and the winding it. And it's all on the county road.
Yeah.
And originally, how everything, all the crap hit the fan, was 60 Minutes came in because when we got there, essentially, and we're moving into Oregon, the county said, in order for you to have commercial enterprise on this farmland, this ranch land, you need to go to Antelope, which was an incorporated city, and you have to buy property there, and you have to run your business out of Antelope. Everybody in Antelope was selling their homes. They wanted to get out of there. There were like 19 people or something there.
It wasn't a big town at all, huh? They wanted did the Rajneesh want to just take over that town? And just own the town?
They didn't take it over. All they did was come in and buy property as they were told so that we could run commercial enterprises.
I get it.
And what happened was the city went, these are red people from out of the country. I mean, I've been told to go back to my country. I can't tell you how many times. And
in Oregon, you were told to go back to your country?
All over the United States, I was go back to your homeland. I'm like, I'm in my homeland.
Was it because you were wearing red?
Yeah.
So
there's a whole lot to talk about that.
Yeah.
But the point being is it was a commercial enterprise so that they could run printing presses and do video and everything at the ranch.
Yeah.
60 Minutes came in because the people decided to disincorporate. They decided or unincorporate, said, we're not going to let this happen. And they bust in all sorts of people from outside to try and outvote the Rajneesh people. But by that time, about 95 of us were living there, so we outvoted them. So that the unincorporation didn't happen. In 60 Minutes said, they took over this town. And that's when all the trouble started. Nobody took over anything.
Do you think, from watching the movie, it seems to me that one of the things that drove this, which is what always drives conflict, is fear. So people that had been living there in Antelope all of a sudden saw all these people wearing red, walking around their town, not necessarily like introducing themselves, not necessarily explaining what's going on. They just saw this and they got afraid. And there was a sort of an us and them, because there was the people wearing red and then there were people not wearing red. And do you think that added to the conflict in the kind of us versus them situation?
mean, you got to realize that had we moved to, we had a commune, a large commune in Lucerne Valley in the desert of California.
Yeah.
Had Bhagwan moved there at that time, we'd still be there today. We moved to Oregon. I mean, we moved to the one place where they went, get out of here, you heathens, you know, you're going to burn in hell. And I mean, people camped out where there were signs, you know, the wages of sin is death. I mean, we were not treated well, nor were we welcomed. And
a lot of times when we think of Oregon, when people think of Oregon, they think of it as a very liberal place. But
Yeah,
are they
well,
just
it's
talking
really
about
not.
Portland?
It's really not.
And you know
Huh?
what? Even Portland, some people are saying, you know, there's very liberal people, and then there are very, very conservative people living in
Oh, I
Portland
mean,
as well.
People are people, you know,
Yeah.
and I can't blame people for being afraid. There's things that I've been afraid of in my life. I mean, we're all afraid of different things, but
Well, I think I'd be afraid if somebody suddenly moved into my town. They all had certain uniforms on, and they weren't telling me what was going on. You know what I mean?
well, you know, who said they weren't telling anybody what was going
I
on?
don't know. I'm just wondering.
But I mean, these are assumptions that are being made that
Yeah.
hey, Bailey, come here, that I'm on the deck with it. I mean, in other words, there's people have asked me to write books and to do documentaries, and a couple of times I thought I might, but here's the thing.
Yeah.
Over the entire experience, I was there from the beginning to the end when Bhagwan left the country,
Yeah.
and I'd do it all over again.
You were
There
there
was
the
no-
whole time. Wow.
In and out. I went in and out. Because I lived in Los Angeles, I would come back. I'd go to the different centers. They would say, "Did you give all your money and everything to the guru?" No one ever asked me to give a dime.
Mm-hmm.
No one asked me to stay. Nobody told me I couldn't leave. I came and went as I chose. I paid for accommodations sometimes when I was there, and other times they provided accommodations. I mean, it was a city. It was a city just as Los Angeles is a city or Portland is a city. It had police, it had transportation, it had an agrarian base and commercial base. Hey, Bailey, I love you. Come here, girl. It had an agrarian base where we sold vegetables and stuff.
It seemed like a utopia. The way it was,
It
designed
was.
seemed like a
in many
utopia.
ways it was. Not that there aren't problems in utopia, but it was fabulous. And people say, well, he's a con man. And I go, well, if he's a con man, con me again. It was one of the most beautiful, most incredible, most life-transforming, affirmative experiences I have ever had.
We love dogs on the show.
I know.
So
and
glad
I
to
don't-
have one.
I don't know why she's
Finally
barking
have
at-
a dog on the show, like a live dog.
Yeah.
So can you tell me what the day was like, though? Because this is the thing, is people are like, okay, there was a lot of sex going on there. That's the first thing I want to ask about. Was there a lot of sex going on? Was there like big orgies?
Is there a lot of sex going on in Los Angeles right now?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
There's tons of sex going on. No, but I mean, was it more than normal? Were people like very
No,
promiscuous?
We were called a sex commune
Yeah.
because we didn't make rules about what consenting adults would do together.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it sounds like, oh, all they did was have sex. And hey, girls, they're not going to stop.
No, they're not. Let them go.
They're not going to stop. They're going to do their girl thing or their dog thing.
Their dog
No,
thing.
I mean, in other words, consenting adults do whatever consenting adults do. If there were two people, heterosexual, homosexual, if there was a group, that was between people and that were involved. There was no more sex going on there, I don't think, than there is where I'm at right now. There just wasn't as much hang up about sex.
Okay.
I could go there and not have any sex. I mean, it was like any place else. I'd have to meet somebody who wanted to have sex, and I met plenty of people who didn't want to have sex with me, or I didn't want to have sex with them.
So basically, this is kind of a way I described it last week, as I said, they just don't have a thing about it. Like there's not a thing on it. It's just sort of like you do what you do. People do what they do.
This was a legitimate city. It was incorporated. It had all the rules. It had mayors and town officers, and the police force was trained by Oregon. We were one of the first cities in the world to recycle. I believe it was the first city in the world to have a debit card.
Yeah.
It created a debit
They
card.
had their own debit card. Well, okay,
Yeah.
so that's one thing I've noticed too. Sometimes in these kind of situations, they have their own money.
Huh?
Did they have their own money?
No,
No,
they used U.S. currency.
it's just U.S. currency. Because sometimes that can be problematic too, when all of a sudden, like, they have their own money and your money
No,
is
but
not
let me
worth
let me
any more.
talk about what's truly
Yeah.
important. What the ranch was an opportunity for people to come and meditate and be around Bhagwan. And some people, I'm sure, worshipped Bhagwan. Bhagwan to me was an enlightened being but I wasn't a follower.
Yeah.
I was a companion on a walk, and he walked and I walked with him. That's how I looked at it. So I invested my time, my energy, and my money to be there so that I could
Yeah.
meditate, so that I could learn how to live meditatively. And I went to Rajneesh University. So I learned all sorts of different forms of therapy, body work, communication therapies, psychological therapies. I did all sorts of work on myself. So
Yeah.
after having gone through this time where I was devastated, I was now immersed in transforming my life. And we'd wake up every morning. Those who wanted to would go and do dynamic meditation, which is a physical meditation, or laughing meditation.
I love that. I love the laughing meditation.
Oh,
So
it's
we talked to Agyat about this last week. There were a lot of different techniques for meditation. And some of them were laughing, some of them were dancing, some of them were athletic, like you'd run in place. Can you tell us some more about the different methods of meditation that you encountered and how often you would do this kind of stuff?
Well, when you took sannyas, that meant you would wear a mala, which was 108 beads, which designated the 108 forms of meditation.
Yeah.
You took a new name. You became a swami. I became a swami. Took a new name. You chose to wear the colors of the sunrise, meaning red or purple or orange or something like that, which is what you see Buddhist or Hindu sannyasins do. We didn't wear robes in this country. I mean, some women might have worn saris, but I mean, I'd wear red jeans instead of blue jeans and red shirts and things like that. And you would meditate for a minimum of an hour a day. That's all you had to do to be a Rajneesh, essentially. You take your new name, wear the colors of the sunrise, wear the mala to remind you to, and meditate. So what I did every morning here in LA, wherever I was around the world, is I got up, I put on my clown suit, my big floppy feet, my little red nose, and I went out into the world dressed like a sannyasin. And I encountered during those years I've had people try to shoot me. I've had people try to accost me in the airport, and people scream at me. People look at me walking down the street and scream. I've been chased out of restaurants. I've been chased by baseball bats. And I learned something really important about prejudice. And that was because I had red clothes on, people treated me differently. I knew I could go into the gas station bathroom and put on blue jeans and a brown shirt or a green shirt or whatever and come back out and they would treat me just like one of them. But I chose not to. And yet a person of color can't take their skin off. Mm-hmm. A person of another origin, ethnically can't be a different color, be a different race, be a different nationality. I could have hidden. Yeah. I chose not to, because what I learned from this, wearing the clothes, was it would stop certain people. It would freak people out. It would scare people. I didn't try and scare them, but they would see me and then form whatever opinion they had. For me, it was, how do I respond to that? Does it bother me, or do I not care? And I learned to not care. I learned that was their issue, not my issue. I'm choosing to wear a clown suit, so why should I get upset if people get bent out of shape by it? Mm-hmm. So it was, how do you walk peacefully through the world? How do you live meditatively, not just meditate an hour a day, but have your life be a meditation? Have what you do like Zen. If you're going to wash the dish. How do you, if you're going to walk, then just walk. If you're going to eat, then just eat, without having your thoughts and your mind and everything run away.
Sometimes it's a workout to maintain your sanity. Hey, I got a question for you. What was your Swami name? Someone in the chat room, Pam in the chat room, asked what's your Swami name. What was it? Anand, which means bliss, which is my daughter's middle name now, and Nito, which means virtue. And I always assumed that Bhagwan thought I had no virtue and I had no bliss, and so that's why he gave me the name. So he gave you your name. Did he give everyone their names?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. So what are your thoughts about Sheila? That was, did you meet Sheila?
I knew Sheila casually. I didn't know her really well. I'd been invited to tea and cookies once in a while. But when I first met her, I said, hi, I'm Anand Nito. And she said, from France? And I said, no, from Los Angeles. And she said, oh, well, we've had some trouble with Anand Nito from France.
Oh, so there were people from all over the world at this thing.
Oh, everywhere. I mean, But here's the interesting thing. In 1981 or 82, I was driving back to Los Angeles with a Swami from Germany and a woman from Denmark. Holland, I'm sorry. And while we were waiting for her to get in the car, he said, 4 years. I go, 4 years what? He goes, that's how long your government will allow this thing to last. And I go, oh, that's really being a Donnie Downer.
Yeah.
Why would you ever say something? Because your country will not tolerate this. It's going to end. And I'm like, oh, come on, think positive. 4 years almost to the date it was done.
Wow.
This guy was prescient. I mean, he could see it. I couldn't. I was an American. I believe this is the land of the free, and by golly, here we are. We're creating paradise, and nah.
You can be free, but not that free.
But you have to pay for it.
No, I have a question for you though, because there were some things that seemed like they're still confusing to me. One is why all the Rolls Royces?
Well, supposedly this was come here, Bailey, come here. Let me pet you instead of you barking about it. This was Sheila's idea to draw attention to the commune. In other words, Bhagwan had always said that meditation or religion was a rich person's. It was a luxury. In other words, if you had to go and work and toil and put food on the table for your family, you didn't have time to meditate or go to church or go to the temple. It wasn't the same. But if you were very well off, you could go and you could stand there and meditate and act really hotty-toddy or whatever. So Bhagwan said, we don't have a problem with money. We don't have a problem with abundance. This is all part of the universe. And this is America. This is a capitalist system where you can have 2 cars in every driveway. You can have a couple of TV sets in every room. You can have these things, So the commune made money not from people giving them money, made money from the commercial enterprises, the discotheques, the restaurants, the videos, the book sales, the agrarian side of it, and all the other commercial ventures. So Sheila said, well, Bhagwan deserves the best car. Why not get him a Rolls? Then she said, why not get him a Rolls for every day of the year if we could? Well, that made the capitalist Americans who could afford 2 cars in every driveway go completely nutty. They went, a religious man who's buying cars. Bhagwan wore robes. He didn't have pockets. It's not like he went out for a drive every day for about an hour or two. Uh-huh. He lived in a nice home, but it was a modest home. It wasn't the palace. He's living in the central desert of Oregon with a bunch of people around him. But not like, you got to go. It's not like it's not like he's living the big life. He was living well, but we all were living well. I lived like a king and a queen there. That seemed to be the point of everything was. And I think that's what scared America more than anything else was here was a whole bunch of affluent people moving to the desert to say, you know what, there's a better way to live than how we live in our society. And we want out of the rat race. And you showed Ma Prem Hasya from Hollywood. I don't know about the drugs. I didn't have any experience with that. Mm-hmm. The drugs were not permitted in the commune. That was a big no-no.
Oh, really?
There no commune, no drugs, none of that.
In the movie, and I'm not, I just go, all I have to go by is the movie. The Bhagwans seemed to kind of change when these Hollywood people kind of came in, and they also seemed to be raising a lot of money. This is the way that the movie took it.
They were there. They were there almost from the start.
They were. Do you think he was? What
happened was Sheila left, and they replaced Sheila with Ma Prem Hasya, who was one of the producers of The Godfather.
Yeah.
But Hasya had been there. She'd been a sannyasin for a long time.
Do you think they were? Do you think he was taking drugs?
I don't know. I don't know. And people say, "Do you think he was having sex?" I don't know. I don't care. That wasn't my interest.
Where did it go wrong? So it seems like it was a pretty great place to live. Seems like there was a lot of really positive stuff going on. There was definitely a problem with the PR between the residents of Oregon that had been there for a long time and the Rajneesh. Where do you think it went wrong, and how would you have done it differently if you were to go back there now?
I think that where a lot of it went wrong is twofold. One, yes, we came in and we went to a place that maybe we shouldn't have gone to. That said, like all pioneers, you all go to places that it was an experiment. It was, could we create a society that lived this way? where people got along and had a good time. And at every turn, we were sued. You mentioned that somebody blew up our hotel. I mean, they didn't blow up the entire hotel, but they did bomb a couple of rooms. We were sued by the government, by the state government, the county government, the federal government, and through most of it, I think we won every lawsuit. I don't know that we ever lost a lawsuit, but I could be wrong. Come here, please. Come here. You're so sweet. You just need to, I know what you need. You need to probably go outside, and I'm not letting you go out yet.
So what do you think, though, about, okay, so now what about the salmonella and the tainting of the salad bars?
So what I was getting at was I think there were a lot of things that went wrong. I think Sheila was good for building the city, was wrong for being with the people. I think she ended up thinking, I have this position, I'm going to do Bhagwan right, and I'm going to be provocative. And he may have told her to be more provocative or whatever. He may not have. I mean, that's all up in the air. Nobody really knows. We have her side, and he's gone. So, but the point is that she said a lot of stuff that got a lot of people mad, and they said a lot of stuff that got her mad. And instead of turning the other cheek or going, "Hey, how do we live together?" I mean, you need to know that we at both ends of the county road, which ran right through the city, there were people camped out all the time telling us we were going to hell and we were wrong and we should get out of there and to go back to our countries. We were shot at from the mountainsides. People shot into the commune.
Yeah. But don't you think it has something to do?
Let me tell you this. Let me tell you this. This is important. One of my good friends was one of Bhagwan's bodyguards, and he carried a rifle.
Uh-huh.
Okay. I didn't know this at the time. He's like, that rifle was unloaded.
Oh, really?
It was all show. It was show. When the end came about and they all rushed in, they said, "Oh, there's arms." They searched. There was never found any arms. They never found any drugs. They never found any evidence of anything other than the salmonella thing, which I think was in retaliation. They tried to get people sick. They tried to say, if you're going to, I'm not saying that any of it was right. Don't get me wrong. Wrong from both sides. It didn't matter who started it or who was trying to end it. It's just stuff that shouldn't have happened. But it's also the kind of stuff that everybody's interested in. But that's not what the place was about. What the place was about was about living authentically, living and meditating, becoming. Yeah, you do need to see Bailey.
We need to see Bailey. We have to see Bailey.
Can you see Bailey?
Oh, look at it. Oh, yeah. Maybe if we pay attention to her, she will.
I'm sitting here.
Love
Sasha's
us
on
more.
the other side, just sleeping away, and Bailey wants Sasha to play. And Sasha's like, I'm not going to play. But so Bailey's being Sheila right now. She's barking at the crowd.
We love Bailey. We love her. She's it's like another audience member. Hey, it seems to me that it has a lot to do with force against force. Whenever you have some kind of force and then you meet it with force and you start to, bomb up or gun up, is where you.
But it's a perfect metaphor for your life, my life, and everybody's life. You meet a problem with resistance, you're going to create more resistance. If you push back on your problems, you're going to have more problems. Learning how to release and to let go, learning how to shift away from what is a trouble, a problem, a circumstance, an event, a person in your life, and live with let go, live with less resistance, live with peace, harmony, love, and compassion is what it's all about. The fact that you couldn't do that or that the commune failed to do that 100% of the time only means that there were people living and doing what people do. And sadly, as a movement, it got pegged as a bad one. But having said that, it was, I'll say that again, most beautiful experience, most wonderful 4 years of my life. I learned so much. Living in a commune, people think I'm going to go to the mountains and meditate. I'm going to live in the ashram and it's going to be easy. It's not easy because everywhere you turn, you confront yourself in other people or other circumstances. Come back here, Bailey.
Let's see Bailey one more time. Just one more time.
Ear?
Oh, look at those ears. Those are some ears.
She's adorable. She's almost 2 years old. She'll be 2 years old in October.
People are really digging Bailey. Hey, okay, so we're going to have to end the interview because it's taken, we
ran out of time.
Way over time. We always run out of time. There's so much more to talk about. I do want to talk. I really am enjoying your book.
I'm so happy.
I want to talk about this a little bit before we go. But
I don't talk about the book.
What did you say?
as you will find, I don't talk about the ranch in the book.
Yeah, right.
I don't talk about Rajneesh room. I talk about how you can transform your life and what I learned, and I've incorporated all sorts of things from ancient mystics to current
That's what I
neurological
like about it. That's what I
in
like
order
about your book. Is
in,
it's not religion based or this. We got to you today because we were talking about the Rajneesh. But this book is for everybody, and it has all kinds of philosophy that just makes sense. I feel like it's like the stuff they didn't teach you in school that they probably should have taught you, so that to prepare you for life. Because sometimes I think a lot of the things that we learn in high school or elementary school aren't the things that maybe we need to know, the tools that we need to be able to function with other people. And I think this talk about the Rajneesh also illustrates this, that getting along with other people and getting along with yourself are super important things that you need to work out before you're way down the road and you have to like force yourself to sit in the chair because somebody's gonna kill you, you know?
Well, sometimes the journey for self-development becomes obnoxious to other people. We go, get out of my face, I'm meditating, or get out of my face, I'm being authentic.
Or there's the term self-help where people are like, oh, that's a bunch of self-help,
Right.
And it's like, yeah, maybe we should all help ourselves.
And what the book is really about is how to take hold and manage your mindset, develop the right attitude that allows you to live happily and healthily and wealthily in life so that you can succeed in your personal relationships, in your business, in your career, in daily life by applying principles and practices that are simple and fun, and that you can do, like conditioning yourself, a little exercise every day that brings you exponential change when you apply it. Reading a book isn't going to change your life unless you put it into action. I can know all about Arnold Schwarzenegger's weightlifting routine, but unless I actually go in and start picking up weight and doing stuff, my muscles aren't going to grow.
Yeah, there are always people that will give you advice, and sometimes you look at the person and you're like, wait a minute, you're not doing that. They know everything about what you should eat and how you should exercise and how you should be with your mind, and you're like, wait a minute. So I love what you've done, and also you've put it into a very easy to read format. And what you're trying to say in each thing, and then you have quotes from all kinds of incredible people in the book, and so
I'm very proud of the book, and people can get it at Amazon, both as a Kindle or the paperback, and or as a physical book, and they just go to Amazon.com, or if they're watching in other countries, they have to convert the com into their country code. But I'm very pleased with the book, and I'm really pleased with people who are writing me and they're texting me and they're emailing me every day saying, I'm using this, I'm changing this. They're sending me pictures of themselves with the book. I've got celebrities with the book. I've got, everyday people with the book. It's really very, very cool. Some people are buying like 10 copies and giving them away to their friends or giving them to libraries. There's universities and hospitals and libraries. I mean, they're gifting people with the book. So it's very, very exciting. It is very good. There's Lydia Carnell. The last guy you saw was Jamie Nieto. Jamie just had a baby. His wife, Siobhan, is on America's Got Talent. Mm-hmm. She just delivered baby about a week ago. Uh-huh. And Jamie and Siobhan are both Olympic champions. Wow. And Jamie I write about Jamie in my book. If you haven't read about him yet, you will. Mm-hmm. Jamie was in the 2008 and the 2016 Olympics. He missed the 2012, but in 2017, he was paralyzed. Wow. And using his faith, using the principles that we talk about, this is from his conditioning, knowing that as an athlete, he's also an actor and a writer. He's also in a TV series, they put him behind the bar. He said, I want to walk my bride down the aisle unassisted. That was his goal to do a year later. When he was paralyzed, all he could move was his left pectoral muscle. And he
won't get you very far.
No, and he didn't sever his spine, but the prognosis was it was like horrible. He would never walk again. He walked her down the aisle. Wow. And now they have a baby. The story will warm your heart, and there's a lot of stories in the book like that.
I like that too, stories of people that overcome huge obstacles. We love that.
Right.
I've got to say goodbye to you. I'm so sorry, and I'm so glad that you came on the show.
I'm going to invite myself to come back again whenever you want to talk.
Yes, of course.
This
We
or about fun.
would
If you
love
want to go,
that.
if you want to go deeper sometime, I'm happy to do it.
We would love that. And also, thank you to Bailey
To Bailey, who
for
now
being
is
on the show.
home. Now Bailey's like, okay, I'm done making
Look,
a scene.
we paid attention to her, and she was like, "Oh, okay, that's all I needed."
Bailey's like, my job is like Boney. I'm a, I get to, I'm an
Boney.
instigator.
Boney did all that complaining, and then he screwed up the sound at the beginning of the interview. I can't believe it. So okay, go get some lunch.
This was fun. I love it.
And
Thank you.
thanks for being on Lunch Therapy, Rex, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. There you go. As promised, Rex Sikes. We've got another person coming on Friday interview who I'm really excited about as well. I'm so glad to have him on and find out some information about some stuff that I've been wondering about since I saw that movie, and also to hear about his book. By the way, he is Ginny Sikes' sister, and you know Ginny, the comedian, our resident duck expert. Yes, they happen to be brother and sister. Yes, and Rex is the brother. All right, so we're moving off to the dance break. I don't know when this was, but a while back, I presented some people on the show. I think it was last week. Yeah, last week. And I talked through their entire song. And so I'm bringing back another clip of their song. And here they are. They are called the Light Parade. Feel free to comment on what you saw today and anything else. And here they are. This is a song called You Are Loved.
Listen up, people. Listen up, people. There's something that you need to hear. For one time in your life, won't you hear it tonight? Well, let it soak.
Did I get that
into
wrong?
you here.
Ginny's brother, not Ginny's sister.
You are loved.
I'm sure people understand.
You are loved with a fierceness you cannot understand. You may not believe it, you may not perceive it, but oh, it's coming for you, man.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. I'm not doing it. I'm not talking through this song.
You are loved. You are loved with a business you cannot understand.
Yeah, we're all thinking.
You may not believe it. You may
All right,
not
everybody.
perceive
Great
it.
group today. Super
Oh,
fun.
it's coming for you, man.
Great to see Michelle, Amy here. So good to see you. Keeping it shut. All right, everybody. That's lunch therapy for today. See you tomorrow.